Trade talks around the NHL and specifically the Montreal Canadiens are picking up as we have multiple trade reports, one coming from the fourth period indicating Kent Hughes is still actively monitoring the phone lines and could very well be still looking right now for a future 2C. We got to talk about that and a very interesting update out of Laval as reports have surfaced that they are also looking to make a solid upgrade to the lineup for a playoff push, a bunch of trade rumors, plus an updated look at the playoff picture and how it's turning out to be a lot better than we thought, all coming up on this episode of Habs Digest. And Jesse, we're going to jump right into the playoffs because this is what this team wants to do now. We re-signed Jake Evans, 4 years at that incredible contract. This team wants to make a push for the playoffs. There's no secret there. And if you go to Hockey Reference, they have the playoff odds for every team. And in the Atlantic Division, Montreal has jumped over Detroit officially. They are now at 23.2% chance to make the playoffs, 0.2% chance to win the cup. Hey, it is what it is. But they've been climbing. They've been climbing, and for good reason. With this playoff outlook right now, we have 4 teams all within 1 point of each other with Montreal, Ottawa, Detroit, and New York. Montreal has by far the biggest win streak right now when it comes to these wildcard teams fighting. Jesse, the playoffs have never felt closer than they have during this entire rebuild, this recent winning streak, seeing all the guys want to win, hearing all the comments Evans and everyone else has about the organization. This is starting to legitimately become a reality for this young team.
Yeah, Kent Hughes isn't finished getting W's, and neither is this team really to finish out this season. For sure, Evans is just helping in this effort so much. Long story short, the Montreal Canadiens are just trending upwards right now. Like we saw just from even a couple days ago, we haven't played a game in a couple days. Our odds have went up since then, which is unreal to say. They were at about 19.5% after that Buffalo game, now up to 23.2%. We now know, though, we got that big road trip coming up. Getting that win here before I think we went on that road trip to get the vibes right was really big to kind of carry that momentum into this big road trip coming up, which I think will be defining for this team. I don't know why. I got faith on this team on the road. Sometimes I feel like they sometimes play a little bit looser in some ways. We know the Bell Center is always an advantage, but this team has shown more than capable on the road as well at stretches. So, I mean, this is going to be really pivotal for this team at this last stretch, kind of going in this, and I got full faith in this team.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, looking at their 14-14-1 road record, like, that's better than the Ottawa Senators. It's really comparable to a lot of other teams there. He got Columbus at the top with a pitiful away record, but an amazing home record, which is kind of interesting to see at the same time. But, like, look, Montreal's away record's really not bad. We got some tough matches coming up. We got Edmonton. We got Vancouver. Edmonton's the next one coming up Thursday night, tomorrow night. So, it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see how we perform against McDavid, Draisaitl, and the like. But, hey, things are getting more intense. The playoffs are closer than ever with Detroit's losing streak, Montreal's winning streak. We're getting excited. We're bracing ourselves for it. But look, there's a few things we got to talk about before we get to the playoffs because there might be some moves coming. And before we get into the rumors about Montreal themselves, I want to talk about Laval, Jesse, because this is a big thing as well. So Anthony Marcotte tweeted out this morning, without guaranteeing anything, Pascal Vincent admitted to having had discussions with John Sedgwick, Laval's GM, to evaluate certain options in order to improve the Rocket for the final stretch in the playoffs. The deadline for AHL trades is March 14th. And right now, we know Laval, they are technically tied for second in the AHL, but you can see they played 2 fewer games than Rochester, and they're only 3 points back. So they could easily jump back into first, as Hershey's right on their tail as well. Well, I guess they're tied, but Laval has more wins. So, we take that. But right now, Jesse, the big thing with Laval, as we've said on the show, they could use some extra depth scoring to really bolster this lineup because a guy who's tied for third on their team in points, and Owen Beck, at this point is likely staying with Montreal for the rest of the way unless we do see a big splash, which we will talk about in a minute. Yes, there's been some great production from guys like Florian Xhekaj, and even Lucas Condat as of late scored a goal, but you see those top guys, Barré-Boulet, Laurent Dauphin, guys who are veterans in the AHL. I think a big AHL move is pretty much imminent at this point. I know the deadline's a week further down the road, but this is something we definitely need to keep an eye on.
Yeah, and I mean, our boy Josh Gosse has been on this one for the beginning. We could definitely see this one coming for sure. You have to feel like Kent Hughes, like, not only does he want, like, Montreal to be in a position of strength going in to a playoff push, but also the Laval Rocket. Like, how amazing would it be for both of these teams to be battling, to be in the playoffs, right? Yeah. We know Laval, they're obviously going to get in really easily, but, like, Montreal, if they're able to kind of sneak in there, like, this would just be so great for the organization, like just moving along that, pushing that needle so much further when it really comes to this rebuild. We have to say a big reason why maybe Kent Hughes will be maybe prone to kind of giving a little bit more ammunition to this Laval Rocket team. Pascal Vincent.
Yeah.
He was the right hire for this team. He has been just such like a good cultural match. Obviously, he's been great, bringing some great strategy to the table as well, helping a lot of young guys really develop and get some solid things out of their game right now. So I'm really excited to see how we kind of help a Laval Rocket team that is showing deserving of a little bit of support right now.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I mean, the team has been rolling. Like, again, you don't get to second out of nothing. Not to mention, again, we talk about it all the time, but this is a top 5 youngest team in the AHL, I believe, still. Maybe with whatever move comes at this AHL deadline, they might become older. Who knows? But look, there's a lot of veterans still roaming around the AHL, guys who have won Calder Cups, guys. Like, you got to look at this from the perspective of, like, just imagine they're Montreal, right? The Cup experience, even the NHL experience from some guys they could add to this team would be extremely beneficial, not only for this season's push to establish that winning culture, but to help mentor a lot of our young guys, right? We got some guys to do that, like a Barré-Boulet, who's turning out to be a really, really good signing. Like, we thought he might get some time with Montreal, but what he's done in Laval is amazing. So just bigger things to come in Laval. Like, this is shaping up to be an amazing team for years to come as well. Leave some love for the Laval Rocket and what kind of move you think they'll make down there as well. But we got to talk finally, Jesse, about some of the big rumors surrounding Montreal, because this deadline, it looms Friday, 3 p.m. Eastern is when it's coming. And, well, we're going to dive into the latest reports. These coming out of the 4th period, but there's a lot of people talking about this. The first thing I want to mention here is from an article that I'll link down below, directly quoted. With Friday's 3 p.m. trade deadline fast approaching, Kent Hughes has been busy navigating the waters, listening to calls for some of his pending free agents, while also making calls to teams in an attempt to improve his hockey club now and down the road. And he went on to say that it's no secret that the Canadiens are scouring the market for a young, NHL-proven top 6 forward to add to the core of their forward group. Hughes has been manning the phones, much like the rest of the league, exploring options to both sell and buy this week. So there's a lot going on here right now, Jesse, and the more we read about what's going on this deadline, the more like we're hearing talks about scouring for this top 6 forward. And as much as we think, like, you know, I still believe that this is going to be extremely tough to do before the deadline. Even Elliot Friedman said, hey, if a big swing lands in his lap, why not? But on the buying front and on the selling front, with Tampa Bay and Seattle's trade today, the selling market seems to be big. There is a lot of stuff going on right now we got to pay attention to. This might be more active than we anticipated.
Yeah, there's some big names out there, Rantanen being one of them, but we need the center. That is really the position we're going for. Kent is cooking at all hours of the night right now. And the thing about him is that he has a structure in terms of how he makes moves. We know it's for now and it's for the future as well. But he has shown a little bit of unpredictability as well with Kent Hughes. You know, he's surprised us a couple times here. And to be honest, just hearing some rumors, just the fact that like we feel like we're going for that 2C in the offseason, that maybe it could potentially happen before the trade deadline. Obviously, much more likely happens in the summer. But like, Josh, I don't care when the deal gets done, whether it's at the deadline here. Obviously, there's lots of positive, lots of pros that come with that, or in the offseason. Like, as long as the fit is right, I don't care when that gets done. Of course, the sooner that we're able to do it, the fit is right given. We're pushing the needle. We're building that chemistry. And that's just kind of moving things for next year in such a positive direction. So I'm definitely here for that. But Kent really knows what he's really going for here. And you know that long-term vision, I'm happy to say, is always still that main goal.
Absolutely, right? Like, we want established players. And draft picks is maybe something that we could do if it's an overpay, but not totally sure. Though, like, you know, who knows at this point? The deadline has gotten crazy, and there was one trade today that has kind of indicated this is really a seller's market with, again, Seattle trading Bjorkstrand and Yanni Gourde to Tampa, and they're getting a couple of firsts and some other picks in return for that, and Mikey Eyssimont. Right now might be the best time to sell, and Jesse, there's really one player, like, there's one guy on Montreal's roster that you have been saying since, like, the beginning of this trade deadline is probably the first domino to fall in terms of Habs trades, and that could still be the case since we did sign Evans and not trade him. That's Yoel Armia, and I wanted to mention this article from Murat Atas, the Winnipeg Jets insider from The Athletic. I'll link this article below as well. He said, this one's out there, but Pierre LeBrun reported Winnipeg's interest in Armia earlier this week, and the more I think about it, the more I like Armia relative to the various depth options I've heard connected to Winnipeg. He's a superior player to Brandon Tanev, who I expect Winnipeg has also checked in on with Seattle. So there is some talks there about Winnipeg maybe going after a guy like Yoel Armia. My final question to you is, do you even see Winnipeg willing to give up the kind of assets that Kent Hughes would accept at this point, since Armia is kind of that tandem deal with Jake Evans on that PK, and losing him would affect the Habs PK going forward. Though Winnipeg is in need of it, and if they're willing to pay the price, I'm just saying, like, a pretty darn good draft pick or maybe a decent level prospect may not be out of the realm of possibility for Yoel Armia, as crazy as that is to say based on this market.
It's a seller's market because a lot of teams feel that they have a chance to win right now. If you're the GM for the Jets, you know that you had a good team going in last year into the playoffs, but that wasn't able to cut it. So you're going to do everything you can to really bolster this team. I absolutely could see Yoel Armia making his return back to the Winnipeg Jets there. That would be absolutely phenomenal. Well, anyway, it'd be sad to see him go, but I think it would be a solid ad for another Canadian team. We see Edmonton's loading up in all the right ways. I could see Winnipeg looking to do a similar move. We're also hearing those rumors as well, though, from the Vegas Golden Knights, which love to do, trades this time of year, right? And like, we could definitely also, there's the usual suspects, of course, of the Tampa Bay Lightning, as well as the Capitals. And I think that Armia being one of the stronger penalty killers again in the entire league, and with his board play and a lot of those things, that serves really well into some playoff hockey. So I could definitely see one of these teams here being the one to be able to get his services after this Friday.
Yeah, you really never know at this point because, look, we thought maybe he would never get the kind of money or get the kind of return that we'd expect. But again, the market's heating up. It's a seller's market. And just one final look here at the standings, like you can tell, especially in the East, it is a bloodbath. Every team who thinks that they have a chance, every aging team is maybe saying, look, we got one final chance to go for this. We want to get our guys, not to mention Montreal has that retention slot, can make it a lot easier on them. But I want to hear what you guys have to say. Like, as much as we thought maybe this would be more of a quiet deadline, some things recently have maybe switched up that tune a little bit, but I'm just excited to be able to cover it with you. That'll do it for this episode of Habs Digest. If you enjoyed, leave a like, comment, subscribe to the channel, guys. We will be here right up until the trade deadline. We'll be covering all the latest news, rumors, reports. So if you want to stay up to date, not miss a thing, stick around with us. I've been your host, Josh Gosse, for my co-host, Jesse Poirier. We'll catch you in the next one.